From secret objects that were never added to an unused minigame, these are 21 Geometry Dash features that got rejected. Did you know that there are some really weird blocks in the game's code that are completely inaccessible? Like the 3800th object, which has a weird glitchy texture that doesn't even look good. But what's even crazier is that there is an object that looks like the start position block, but you can see it in the game, and it can even kill you. I'm very happy these objects are gone, because imagine how disgusting levels would look if these existed. I bet you didn't know about the controversy that split the whole community and RobTop in half. CBF, or click between frames, is a mod that lets you click between frames, meaning that there can be no such thing as a frame perfect, because there are, well, infinite frames. Things like the demon list have accepted it with open arms, but RobTop is actively hating it by doing things like not rating levels that have used it. RobTop has talked about adding something similar in the next update, but it's unknown if he went through with it. Imagine being that stubborn. But there's a feature that was in the game that RobTop thought wasn't needed. The password required to copy a level was once a great idea. Maybe if you wanted to collaborate with your friends but no one else, you gave them the secret password to make the next part. Eventually though, RobTop and the whole community just saw this as a hassle. One of the biggest annoyances for me was trying to find a copyable version of a main level, finding it, and then seeing that the creator put a password on it, so I had to go into the comments to find it. Thank you, Rob, from the bottom of my heart for removing this feature. Especially because some level creators just put it in the description, which is a complete waste of time. I bet you didn't know that there used to be a hidden message in the game that actually hinted at some major lore. You see, if you scroll to the end of the main levels, you'll see the coming soon page. But did you know that in an old update, there was a secret involving this button in the top right? When you clicked it, the ominous message appeared. The darkness lingers, be careful who you trust. This sounds very similar to the part in Geometry Dash where you let a dark figure out of a prison. Then he betrays you and says he's gonna destroy the world of Geometry Dash. This message might have been removed to remove any suspicion that that guy in the basement was evil. That traitor. That was cool, but did you know about this cursed menu from old Geometry Dash? So as it turns out, in the oldest version of Geometry Dash, the only buttons at the bottom were stats, settings, achievements, and this very weird looking one, which is the old Game Center icon from the iPhone. Now when you clicked on the Game Center one, a weird pop-up appeared with achievements, an option to rate the game, and an option to like it on Facebook. I knew Geometry Dash was different back then, but geez, this is like way too much. Another thing that got rejected was rating the level Peaceful, even though it's a literal work of art. If you didn't know, Peaceful was a level made by Xylonox and Small that was only made just to mess with your expectations. And at the start, it looks all cutesy, but halfway through the level, it gets all corrupted, and at the very end of the level, all of the blocks and characters become really scary and gory looking. However, it turns out that RobTop is a little scaredy cat, and this level just scared him way too much, so he refused to let that level be rated. On the first update of Geometry Dash, there was a secret level just waiting to be found. Way back in 1.0, RobTop decided that he wanted to use the songs Time Machine, Cycles, and Steps for his new main levels. Not wanting to forget, he buried those levels in the game files, and if you opened them, you had this placeholder level. As you can see, this level is very bare bones, with unintended alternate paths in the ship, unplaced decoration, and gaps in the gameplay. I'll be honest, if a level this bad existed in the game, I would probably never play again. Now, one thing that nobody really knows about is that X-Step has some secret content inside of it. If you didn't know, when Geometry Dash was made, there wasn't any secret paths in the main levels that contained coins, which just feels wrong. But when the second coin was added right here in X-Step, he decided to put it inside of these blocks. But RobTop actually didn't remove the original part. In a couple of updates, it just sat on top of the level. Like, what? Within the game files of Geometry Dash, you can see a couple of really interesting textures because they don't show up in gameplay, but on RobTop's YouTube channel. I'm of course talking about the dialogue between Scratch and RobTop that was used in the sneak peek of 2.2, where he showed Dash and the tower level, the sewers. Now, hacks are usually frowned upon in the community until one hacker found this secret feature. Mega Hack is a hack made by Absolute that lets you do everything from showing hitboxes to speeding your game up to 100 times to even adding text to the top of your screen. Now, one of these mods is called Forced Visibility, and when used, it forces everything on the screen to appear at once. Think of it as X-ray goggles that allow you to see everything hidden behind your sight. Anyways, if you go into the gauntlets and force on visibility, you'll see a secret button that refreshes the gauntlet. This feature was probably used when new gauntlets were rolling out, like the World Gauntlet and NCS Gauntlet. Rob, please bring this back. Now, everyone knows that the mobile version of Geometry Dash has these little buttons on the bottom in platformer mode. When you click these, you go left, right, or jump. Shocking, I know. But these buttons actually have some obscure secrets. Little did everyone know that in early builds, these buttons were very detailed, because RobTop actually borrowed these textures from a game called Forlorn, which RobTop worked on way before Geometry Dash. This button has as much lore as Five Nights at Freddy's. Everyone knows that Geometry Dash's sound effects are very satisfying. From the level complete sound to the demon key noise, every sound just feels so iconic. Except one. In the files, you can find a noise called Counter 003 that sounds like this. Now, interestingly enough, this sound effect has no use in the game, meaning you can't use it without modifying the game. This noise comes from a game called Bloomlings, RobTop's old game before he made Geometry Dash. RobTop once again proving that none of his ideas were original. There was a Geometry Dash level hiding in the game files that you didn't know about. You see, in RobTop's level files, we can see a weird beta version of Finger Dash named Rise for some reason. And there were actually several different versions of this level, some that looked good and some that looked like they were made by a 5-year-old toddler. Now, speaking of the custom levels page, it was originally on one massive page, so if you wanted to reach your first level, you would have to scroll all the way back and hope you didn't get carpal tunnel. I'm very glad this was removed, but weirdly enough, if you get the right circumstances, you can still find it. To find it, you need to play the game on 2.1, try and upload a level, and mash the life out of the back button. Once you've done that, it can work. I can't think of a single reason why you'd need or even want to do this though. The new way is just way more easy to use. Unless you're a sociopath. I love using the skull emoji, but did you know that at one point, a variation of the skull emoji was almost added to Geometry Dash? This beta image has a lot of skeletons with tons of variations. Everything from spiky skulls, glowing skulls, and bald skulls. Weirdly enough, no one knows how this would have worked. Would this have chomped and been animated like a monster? Or would it act like a saw? Please give us answers, Rob. In the level editor, there are thousands of songs you can use, from Newgrounds to NCS to main level songs. But the main level songs have a secret that is unused unless you have hacks. You see, you can actually scroll through this list of main levels from Stereo Madness to Dash, but if you somehow went past, you'd find something very weird. First, you'd see songs from the spin-off games like Sub-Zero and World, but after that, you'd find unused song IDs, and when you play them, weirdly enough, back on track plays. This proves that Geometry Dash has some spaghetti code. But what about the level that had so much controversy that RobTop made the name of the level completely unsearchable? Man by 2003 Devon was a horrible level. It had everything from body horror to gore to suggestive images. RobTop took action immediately and made the term Man completely unsearchable. And the only way to find the level today is to find his profile, click on his levels, and find the level within his profile. Here's a little known secret. There are some cursed versions of everyday things in Geometry Dash hiding in the teaser images. Just like the monster with a tongue, some icons and even portals were completely changed. First of all, the icons. It looks like it has a total of 5 brain cells. And if you use this cube, just admit that you're pretty dumb. Another cursed thing is the original teleport portals. They were so skinny. Speaking of cursed moments, we had one time when the vault keeper might have accidentally said a bad word. You see, after a ton of clicking in the vault, sometimes he just says, damn it. This was changed later to say, never mind, but isn't this crazy? The vault keeper said a bad word. We should lock him in the basement. We've talked about scrapped features, but what about scrapped code? The level Red World by Sarium Neptune is a very influential level, with one of the first recreations of the swing copter contained inside of it. But this ball part at the start turned impossible. That's right, at the start you have to use this specific block to flip gravity, but when RobTop turned off its collision, there was no way to flip, killing you instantly. Does RobTop have a death wish or something? I've saved the best for last. In the Geometry Dash Discord server, RobTop talked about a secret vault, but most people just shrugged it off like it was nothing, except for the YouTuber Colton, who actually searched for it and found a whole mini game. This game seems like a memory game, presumably used in the next update, but the weirdest part of this is that it looks almost identical to RobTop's game Memory Mastermind. And there you have it, 21 Geometry Dash features that got rejected. Make sure to subscribe and check out this video on the screen right now.